Last week, the papers were full of news of hackers getting, among other things, into Prince Philip's Prestel mailbox. Time Fame, one of Prestel's most popular information providers, claimed that a mole had been leaking information to the hackers from inside Prestel itself, and this led to denials from BT and the robust removal of Time Fame's contract. Now, hacking may or may not be a criminal offence. It's never actually been tested in the courts. But Prestel this week described hackers as electronic shoplifters. It's almost certainly illegal if it leads to damage to other people. But hackers can reveal loopholes in systems which less scrupulous people could use for malicious or, of course, fraudulent ends. MicroLive has tracked down one of the hackers, and since he wants to keep on using his phone, he naturally wants to remain anonymous. So I think we'll just call him Mike.
Mike, what are we looking at now?
We're looking at Vampire, which is what BT used to monitor the Prestel computers. This is Kipling computer, and each block on the screen is one line into the computer, and depending on the line, or depending on the block's colour, we can tell if that line's in use, and if so, what it's being used for, either a user into Prestel or an update coming through from one of the information providers.
Now, that wouldn't be accessible to any information provider, nor anybody actually using Prestel.
No, only to Prestel staff.
Now, let's get one thing absolutely clear right from the beginning.
Right.
Is there a mole in British Telecoms?
There is no mole in British Telecom. Time Fame, one of the IPs on Prestel, one of the people who publish information, had a story last week saying that they thought there might be a mole within Prestel. The hack that they claimed took place didn't actually take place. I know that for a fact. There's nobody in Prestel that I know of passing information.
So you've received no information from any single individual in Prestel?
None at all, no.
Is this true that you actually hacked the Duke of Edinburgh's account?
Yes, it is.
And what did you find there?
Not a lot. I could have read his mail, which was mail that he'd been sent from Prestel users. And I could also have sent mail, which would have come from the Duke of Edinburgh. So people who read the mail would have thought they'd had a message from the Duke of Edinburgh, when in fact it came from me.
How did you do it?
It started about a year ago. I was sitting next to a Prestel terminal. It was asking me for an ID. The nearest key to my finger was 2, so I pressed 22222222222. And to my surprise, it said, correct, please enter your password. It had taken all those 2s as an ID, so I tried 1234 as a password, and presto, it worked. I was logged on as Mr. G. Reynolds, who was a member of Prestel. He worked for Prestel, and was therefore a member of the closed user group, which is a part of Prestel that only BT employees can see. Within that BT database was the phone numbers of all Prestel's development computers, which I then had access to. So I used to dial them up every week and see what was happening. There wasn't much going on, but I dialed them up every week just to see. Then, at the beginning of last month, I dialed one of them again. It was a 236 number in London, which has now been changed. I was amazed that on the front page of that computer, where it says, please enter your ID, someone had written the ID number and password of the system manager of Prestel. And armed with that ID, I could discover the identity number and password of any user of Prestel, including the Duke of Edinburgh.
Well, Prestel have told their users to change all their passwords. Can you
Yes.
still get in?
Yes, I can. There's one problem in that if you want to change your password, you have to dial all the computers on which you're registered. And some people haven't done that because it's difficult to get through to a specific computer. You usually have to dial a special phone number, and you've got a 50-50 chance of getting through to certain computers. Also, the information providers who put the information on Prestel have 3 sets of passwords, of which Prestel have now changed 2 after this hack. However, there's still a way of getting into Prestel that I can do using just that 3rd password that BT haven't changed.
So you could actually get on to Prestel and rack up a bill for somebody else, some other third party, which they'd have to pay?
Yes, and still change people's information.
Change people's information from the information providers?
Yes.
What can you actually still do apart from that?
I can get into nearly every database on Prestel and change the information and run up a bill and see BT internal information that I'm not supposed to see.
So what's your advice to users?
My advice to users is write to Prestel today and ask for your identity number to be changed, not just your password.
And what about the advice to Prestel?
Advice to Prestel is change your passwords.
Do you think of yourself as an electronic thief, as they try to imply in that press cutting?
No, I use Prestel myself in business for sending information to my friends, and I've got my life savings in my HomeLink account, which is a home banking system on Prestel. I want that system to be as safe as possible because I've got my money amongst other people's, and I'm making sure that Prestel is safe. At the moment, it isn't. I'd like to see it as safe as possible.
Thank you very much. So the advice there to the user is change your passwords regularly, and to Prestel, it's change your passwords regularly and perhaps get a grip.